Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Her Head's in the Cloud. This is a pretty special one because we've got Jill, our founder, joining us with her own podcast, Sweet at the Table. And we've got a pretty special guest, Angela, who has extensive experience within the tech domain. But Angela, I'll pass it over to you to introduce yourself properly.
Morning, all. And firstly, thank you both Jill and Egle for this opportunity to actually come and be part of the podcast. I have, listened to some of them and have been really excited about actually having this opportunity. So thank you.
Pleasure.
A little bit of an introduction about myself, Angela Anthony. I have been in the tech field now for more than 30 years. So it is one that has been quite extensive. My background has actually been, if you look at my LinkedIn profile or anything of that nature, you'll find that I've worked in many different industries in many different geographical locations. So, started life out in consulting, went into financial services, did aviation, then moved across to retail, moved into health services, and then more recently in branded manufacturing. So it's a career that has taken me to many different parts of the world, worked with many different types of people. But what I will say is consistently through that, passion, in terms of passion of mine, it is actually looking at what you can do for the business from a technology space and
Mhm.
how that makes a difference to us as a community, as a people, as an organization. And through that, also growing communities and teams of people who become, the future leaders, and in particular with a slant towards women in leadership.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That is certainly quite a special and extensive story, Angela. And how would you say your career has panned out versus what you might have originally planned for yourself?
So I would say that I would be a little bit of a poster child for those of you who are out there listening to this podcast, kind of thinking, oh, you have to have an absolute idea of where you're going to go and this is how it's all going to pan out. I'd be the poster child of the fact that it didn't quite go the way I thought it would go.
Yeah.
I did my first degree was in chemistry and mathematics. I then thought, oh, I don't want to be in a lab the whole time as an industrial chemist. So I went and did a teaching qualification and
Right.
ended up actually teaching VCE here in Melbourne, and mathematics and science at a school, at a
Yeah.
secondary school here in Melbourne. But within 2 years, I came to the conclusion that I loved what I was doing. I loved teaching.
Yeah.
However, I felt I could do more.
Okay.
I could actually do more. I could achieve more. So I went back to university and did a postgrad in computer science. And that's when my technology career actually took off.
Yeah.
Right. So, when you ask the question in terms of where, how did your career pan out? Well, I'm not a teacher. I'm in technology. And
Yeah.
once I got into technology, I didn't look back, you know. And even in that technology career, I started out as a developer. And one of the things I will say to anyone working with me or that I'm mentoring or coaching is to think and know who you are and what makes you tick.
Mm.
And I came
Mhm.
to that recognition fairly early in my career because whilst I was a developer, I recognized that that wasn't what kind of floated
What
my
you,
boat.
yeah, wasn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And then I made decisions from there in terms of what I needed to do and where I needed to go and what my strengths were and how to actually draw on my strengths in order to actually get my career going. So,
Mm.
did the developer work, didn't
Mm.
necessarily enjoy it, and moved
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. The groundwork.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a move that was kind of a risky move for you, career wise? Did you have to take any kind of leaps of faith?
Um, I'll say actually, one of the risky moves I think that I made through the course of my career, and it was kind of in the middle of my career, right?
Mm.
I was actually growing my career very well here in Melbourne.
Yep.
I had been asked through different opportunities and people tapping my shoulder to go work in Sydney, but I didn't want to necessarily work in Sydney. I wanted to stay
Mm,
in Melbourne. But then a little while later, I got tapped to go take up a role in Hong Kong as the Divisional CIO for Cathay Pacific.
amazing.
Right. Now, by that stage in my career, I had three young children. I had a husband who enjoyed his career. So the risky move was actually more about holistically for us as a family. Was that going to be the right move for us?
Yeah.
Right?
Mm,
Would that be the right thing for us as a family? How would the children cope with it? What does it mean for my husband's career? And also for me, I guess, from a career perspective as well, it was working. Whilst I've worked in many different parts of the world, living in that country and doing what you need to do and being part of the fabric of that organization is actually quite a different deal to
mm,
being a consultant and living in a place and implementing something, right? So we took the risk,
mm.
and I'll tell you a really quick story. In making that decision, Jill,
Yeah.
my husband and I looked at each other and we said, and we'd done our pros and cons and we'd done our list and we thought about it all very, very analytically and, does it make sense, et cetera, et cetera. But we couldn't make a decision. So in the end,
Wow.
my husband and I looked at each other and said, we're going to flip a coin.
No way.
We flipped a coin
Wow.
and it said, go to Hong Kong. And so we did.
Amazing. Oh, wow. That is, I mean, I suppose you've gone through that process. You've tried to do the pros and the drawbacks, and you couldn't make a decision. So you decided to leave it to chance.
Yeah.
And did it pan out well for you?
It did pan out well. That's not to say that there weren't difficult times kind of working in Hong Kong as well, both at a career
Mm.
level, settling the family in, doing all those sorts of things. At a
Yeah.
career level, it was actually working in a culture that was in Cathay Pacific was the organization I was working at, and I was the divisional CIO for the passenger business, and passenger was
Mm.
kind of 70% of the business that they did.
Yeah.
Um, and the Cathay Pacific business at that time, very obviously, most of my team were Hong Kong Chinese, but the leadership team at the director level and below were very much mixed with a lot of English
Okay.
from the Swire Group. So
Right.
not only were you working with the cultural differences of working in Hong Kong and Hong Kong Chinese, and how do you make sure that you are, communicating the way that you need to communicate
Yeah.
so that, everyone understood what needed to get done. But you also had another level of complexity to how the English actually worked, right?
Yeah.
So you,
Yeah.
and a
Yeah.
lot, from an expat perspective, trying to navigate your way through those scenarios was interesting. There was a steering committee that I had for a digital transformation that I was leading, and the MD for the passenger side of the business looked at what we were proposing and the recommendation being made. And his, statement to me was, "Oh, Angela, I don't know. This is very much a Sophie's choice." And so everyone's trying to sit there going, what does he mean? What does he mean by Sophie's choice? But, he had been a history and English major
Right.
from England. And
Yeah.
so, it was really complex trying to make sure that you were jumping in and out of different ways of communicating so that
Yeah.
you could actually kind of resonate with the group that you were speaking to.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of cultural differences, I
Yeah.
guess, as well to kind of manage. Yeah.
Yeah.
And looking back, Angela, what would you say has been your biggest failure throughout your career, and of course your biggest highlight also?
Yeah. The biggest challenge or failure was actually early on in my career when I was the deployment center director for Accenture. so working in
Uh-huh.
consulting.
Mhm.
There was a large piece of work that we were doing that I was leading that was actually about the implementation of a payroll and HR system. The
Uh-huh.
stakeholder that we had, that I was working very closely with was, kind of all over the place. She'd say she wanted something done in a particular way, or these were the requirements, and then a few days later, or when you went into a steering committee, you actually got a very different view of
Okay.
what she wanted or how she thought it needed to go or what it
Right.
meant, right?
Mm.
So it kind of yo-yoed through that quite a bit, and we try and I try and um, help the steering committee better understand what it is that we were trying to do, etc. But it got to a point where it couldn't continue that way.
Okay.
Mm.
And in one of the steering committees, in that last steering committee that we went to, actually, it was the second last, we made the decision that we were going to halt it. We were going to stop that implementation.
Right.
Yeah.
That was a huge blow because there was already quite a substantial amount of money that had been spent.
Mm.
I had a team that was hugely invested in making it happen. That
Mm.
now I had to communicate that tools down, right?
Mm. Yeah.
And I was working with a stakeholder that was very kind of them and us. So it's your mistake where
Mm.
Yeah.
really the requirements hadn't been spelt out,
Yeah. Okay.
you know. So that I would say, and I learned so much from it. Agwe.
Mm.
I feel like, and I say this to a lot of people that I work with. You need some of those scars, right? Because
Yeah.
you learn.
100%.
Yeah.
Only through failure
Yeah.
can we get some really like lived lessons, I guess. If
Yes.
everything goes well, and how do you ever
Yeah.
learn?
Yes. Yes. You know.
Mm.
And so some of the key learnings for me through that particular incident or scenario was the fact that um, I, in my gut, I think I knew that it wasn't quite going the way I wanted it to go. That we thought
Mm.
that we needed it to go.
Yeah.
Um, I think I should have raised the flag a little earlier.
Mm.
I think I should have had more robust discussions with my stakeholder. But at that
Mm.
time, I was still trying to feel my way through of how to do this so that we kind of keep everyone happy and can. But here's the thing: you can't keep everyone happy,
No,
Yeah.
that's
right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
How
so
long
those were certainly learnings.
how long did
Mm.
the back and forth go before you decided to pull the trigger on it?
It was about 6 months. 6 months of steering committees, and let's do this. Oh, and what continually happened is we'd get additional requirements. Oh no, this is critical. We need to do this in this way. But
Mm.
then you'd have the conversation, as you would all know. If you add more requirements, that means it's going to take longer,
Mm.
Yeah.
and it's going to cost more.
Yeah.
But of course, everyone wants everything without needing it to take longer or cost more.
Yeah.
You then kind of look at, which part of this do we actually negotiate on? So
Yeah.
that took a long time.
Yeah. 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 Hindsight's a wonderful thing.
It is. It is. And
Yeah.
we've all got PhDs in those.
100%. Um, how have your priorities shifted over the course of your career, Angela, in terms of kind of your career priorities, your family, personal life? How's that evolved over your long career?
I would describe myself as being that when I was first starting out my career, I think I was that classic younger person who lives and breathes. Work was my thing
Mm.
because I loved what I was doing. I got a whole lot of joy out of it. It excited me. I was working. I had the amazing opportunity to work with such smart, great, interesting people. So it kind of fed me in a lot of
Mm.
ways.
Be an
But
exciting
I
time.
was willing to compromise on everything else, be it
Mm.
personal life, be it, anything else, right? So
Mm.
I lived and breathed work, and I do crazy things like I was running a program that was also implementing. We were leading the implementation in South America. So I'd work a full day here till 7 p.m. normally, right?
Yeah.
Go home, get showered, get changed. And in those days, you didn't have the ability to do this where you just kind of dialed in from home. I went back into the office. I'd be there
Stop.
at 9 p.m. and then continue to try and work some of the South American time zone, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Um, and I did. It's not sustainable, and I know this. But
Mm.
at that time, I wasn't married. I didn't have children. I didn't
Mm.
have to actually kind of do the balancing, right?
Yeah. Different times.
That's right. But stage of life being what it is, when um, we had children, whether you like it or not, your focus changes,
Mm.
right? And I found that it was actually a great leveler,
Mm.
I would say, as a human. As
Mm.
a mother, as someone who wants to do the right thing by the organization and deliver for myself in terms of, because I am very outcome driven. So
Yeah.
it meant that I needed to kind of balance myself as well.
Yeah.
But having children meant that I I drew the line at, okay, I need to go home because
Mm.
I've got two little people and I had twins.
Yeah.
Um, so I have to go do
Full
this,
on. Mm.
right? But as I have grown through my career, I've actually come to even value more so, and my children are now young adults going about and doing their thing, which is wonderful.
Yes.
Um, but for me, it has meant also that I have, excuse me, started to prioritize my physical health, mental health, and how I then face into the world. And I
Mm.
think when I look back now, I kind of think you get a far better Angela Anthony than the Angela
Mm.
Anthony that was totally invested at work,
Mm.
the Angela
Yeah.
Anthony that was trying to balance work and life, but at the expense of, I think, physical health because I
Mm.
wouldn't go do my exercises or go for a walk and things because I just didn't get the opportunity. It was the
Yeah.
kids or
Just
family
so
or
focused on.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I say to a lot of people that I work with, don't deprioritize those things.
Mm.
You know,
I think
work
if you
out.
do like what you said, I think it is at the risk of, even though it's kind of counterintuitive, it is actually at the risk of your career, because I'm sure that you, as a result of shifting those priorities, putting your family first, putting yourself first, as perhaps you get a little bit older as well, getting a bit more perspective on work, you become a better leader, because everyone around you is watching what you do, and it all comes from the top, doesn't it? And your behaviors trickle down onto your team, um, on what is a healthy kind of work versus home personal
Yeah,
life balance.
yeah. And
Mm.
and lived experience is a great way of teaching that,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Because lived experience basically tells you when you have a member of your staff come to you and say, "Oh, my kid's not well,"
Mm.
you
Got much
know,
more
you
empathy. Yeah.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. You go,
Mm.
just go do what you need to
Mm.
do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But me
Yeah.
in my younger years, I would have gone, no, no, we've got to forge on. We've got a deadline to meet.
Yeah. And I do think only by actually experiencing that yourself can you
Yeah,
probably have a true understanding of it. That's certainly my experience.
yeah,
I would be the same. I'd be like,
yeah,
oh, well, you need to just crack on anyway. What's the problem? Whereas
yeah, yeah.
if you've actually been through that yourself, like anything, it's easier to empathize, isn't it?
That's right.
Mm.
Exactly.
And Angela, how do you, I think, feel like it's never been more important in the world now where people do need to prioritize their mental health and keep it in check. So, what are you doing in this current day and age to look after it? Especially
Yeah.
when you look at technical people, so many people working remotely for full
Yes.
time and they don't get to experience the outdoor world. So, what do you do to protect that?
I do a few things. Agle. One of the things is I love my Pilates. So come hell or high water, I will do Pilates 3 times a week because I find
Nice.
that I feel like a better person for it.
Mm.
And it's one of those things where you kind of go and you're so busy. And if you're anything like me, actually you probably aren't, but I am quite uncoordinated. So when I'm trying to do Pilates, I spend all my time just focusing on the instructions being given so that she doesn't have to say 3 times, no, no, your left leg, you know. So I'm so focused on it that the time passes so quickly
Does
and you
it?
do
Yeah.
what you need to do. And then
Mm.
you come out and you think, oh, I feel better for having done it. Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's certainly one thing. The other thing I do is actually go for walks and I walk my
Mm.
dog and I'll
Nice.
do that 4 or 5 times a week. And it gets you out in the open air. And I think the open air is the best way to actually kind of clear your mind. And when I do those walks, I'm either listening to a podcast of some description
Mhm.
or I'm thinking through various things that, I kind of think, oh, no, I think what we
Mm.
could do is X, Y, and Z. So it
Mm.
gives me thinking time as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like being outdoors is the best for your headspace, away
Yeah.
from screen time.
Yeah.
Um, and Angela, I know you, so I don't know if this would be the toughest moment. I feel like you mentioned flipping the coin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, living life on the edge there. Would you say that was the toughest moment in your career? Or if not, what would you say was?
No, I think that was really one of the toughest moments in my career. And
Mhm.
for a multitude of reasons, as I said, I also, at the time, had aging parents back here in Melbourne, right?
Mm.
And so trying to make that call around, how do I balance the kids and my husband, my parents who are aging? My
Mm.
whole support network was here in Melbourne.
Mm.
Yeah.
So in going to Hong Kong, it meant we were going to go in and take it as it came,
Mm.
right? So that was a really tough decision. It was a tough decision even when I had the conversation with my parents and
Yeah.
telling them that it's only 9 hours away, but
Yeah.
nonetheless
Yeah.
it's 9 hours away,
Yeah. Yeah. They were
right?
they were in Melbourne, were they, at the time?
Yeah, they were in Melbourne.
Yeah, okay, so you had them close by.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So that was one of the toughest decisions, and,
Mm.
when my husband and I made that call, it actually was on the back of, about 9 months earlier, I had been tapped for that same role,
Okay.
and
Oh,
at that
really?
time, I had actually said, "No, I don't think we're ready,"
Mm.
right? So when 9 months later I got retapped, the conversation I had, with the group CIO who called me was to say, "Actually, no, we've had this discussion. No, I don't think I will." And then, we kept talking and then I said, "Oh, look, talk role. Tell me what the role is." Right?
Mm.
And obviously talk dollars as well.
Yeah.
Right? And he did. So I came home and I said to my husband, I said, "Oh, I had this conversation again." And he said, "Oh, no, no. Well, we've decided, haven't we?" And then I said, "Well, he said this and this." And my husband said, "Bastard. Now we have to think about it."
Gotta go back round and
Yeah.
review it. Did fear of, "If I don't take it now, they've asked me again, it's not gonna kind of bode well for my career if I turn it down again"? 'Cause I have heard from quite a few people who I've chatted to that that was maybe a factor in why they ended up taking a role which they might have said no to at first.
It was a little of that.
Mm.
But I also I kind of work on this philosophy of you put your best foot forward. You do everything and make sure that you are representing yourself through career and opportunities and all of that as best as you can.
Mm.
And then there's a big part of it is, and I fully subscribe to this, is the universe will do what the universe needs to do.
Mm.
And you need to pay attention to what the universe is saying.
Yeah.
So when that second tap came, I thought, well,
Is that
the
the
universe is saying
universe
something.
saying something? Give it a go.
Pay
I
attention.
al I
Mm.
always say that the universe always has your back, and,
Yeah.
like, what's meant to be, it will come and find you, so I guess, yeah, you getting tapped up for the second time round, it came back to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think I find even at work and dealing through decisions and everything, I work kind of in that balance of
Yeah.
being very data driven. Give me the
Mm,
information. What does that need to look like, etc. And then you have a sense of what you think it needs to be, right?
mm,
Um, and that sense, through my experience over the years, I will describe it as basically coming from experience, because you've seen or smelt it in as a slightly different being, maybe, but that's kind of what
mm,
it feels and looks like. The other is, it's kind of that universe thing, right? You
Yeah.
kind of go, I kind of know, so this is what we need to do. I've got the
mm,
data. The data kind
mm,
of provides enough information,
Yeah.
but we don't go down to the nth level of detail of needing
mm.
data.
Yeah. Yeah. No, combination's good.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely. And what would you say throughout your career, Angela? What's been the toughest piece of feedback that you've ever received?
I think the toughest piece of feedback has come in the form of, uh, you know, f- through all of my career of 30 something years, there's only been one time where I've had a female leader as
Oh, wow.
leader. The rest of the time, it's always been men,
Was meant.
right?
Hmm.
And one of the toughest pieces of feedback, I think, was this particular individual, where at the time I had said, actually, I think I want to go to 4 days a week, because at the time my twins were quite young, and I thought, in order to balance it,
Yep.
if I can do 4 days. And I'd come out of the world of consulting, where I was a director with deployment centers and all of that, to making a very conscious decision to kind of take a step down, in order not to be traveling all the time and at
Yeah.
the behest of people saying, you need to be here or you need to be there, kind of, channel my time and manage my time a little better for my own self, right?
Hmm.
Um, and when I did that, for a period of time, I think I'd been in that role for about 12 months. I kind of came to the conclusion, if I'm going to do all of that, I actually want to do it right, where I can work at 4 days a week and
Mm.
have one additional day with my family.
Yep.
My boss said no, right? And I kind of went, oh. And the reasoning wasn't, and it was, a little earlier, whereas these days, you would definitely kind of entertain it and think about
Mm,
how best do you make it work. It was a little harder then, right?
Mm.
And so I had to then think about, okay, what do I want for my career? If this is the feedback that, from their perspective, from his perspective, I couldn't do the role, whereas I was saying I could do the role.
Yep. Yeah.
I
mm,
thought, okay, that's fine. I'll do the role as you are saying I'll do the role, but you know what? I'm going back to a full blown next step up role.
Well,
And
yeah.
then I was fortunate in that I got tapped to move to ANZ Bank, and then, didn't look back. I thought, if I'm
Yeah.
going to do 5 days, I'm going to do it with gusto.
Well, yeah. There's
yeah.
no point if you're
Yeah,
doing 5 days, but taking a lower role.
yeah,
It would make sense. If you've got to do the 5 days, you may as well take an appropriate leveled
correct,
role.
correct,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Um, but it was a tough bit of feedback to get that,
Yeah.
you even though I didn't feel like there was data that actually said that I couldn't do it,
Mm.
Yeah.
but it was a inherent kind of, nah, you got to do 5 days.
Mm.
It's interesting because I feel like since then, the times have changed quite drastically. So I wonder if you were to put that
Yeah,
proposal forward
yeah,
today, what
yeah,
they would say, if it would be feasible.
yeah. I actually would like to think that a lot more people now would entertain it. A lot
Yeah.
more people, be they women or men,
Yeah.
would actually look at
Mm.
how do you make it work as opposed to I have a definitive view and I will not be
Yeah.
swayed.
Yeah. Be more flexible around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you see? I mean, that's a great example, but are there any other examples that you've come across in your career, where maybe women have it, yeah, more women, I suppose, where particularly women though, and particularly women in leadership, um, have it a bit harder. Have you seen any other examples of that?
Jill, I've had a lot of time to kind of reflect on this through the course of my career.
Mm.
As I think when we caught up in Sydney, we had this chat about the fact that, you work in an area like mine. I'm a senior woman, a CIO in a,
Yep.
STEM area,
Mm.
effectively. STEM is hugely underrepresented with
Yep.
women,
Yep.
right? So the whole of my career, as I said, other than that one, and that was only for
Mm.
about 18 months, I think, right? The rest of
Mm.
my career was all men. I had
Mm.
men leaders that I worked with. And
Mhm.
so I think that uh, it's really tough. It's really
Mm.
tough to be someone who knows and to hold true to yourself, to be authentic to what you say and how you think it needs to be done when there
Mm.
are so many loud, strong voices
Mm.
around you that want it done in a way that they're comfortable with,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And I will say that I have had a kind of a mix level of success in either shifting that thinking, and in
Mhm.
some cases I have been able to shift that thinking, right?
Mhm.
And in other instances, it's no, this is how we're going to do it because
Mm.
this is how we've always done it,
Yeah. Mm.
right? And so I think one of the things I will say to women as you kind of navigate your way through leadership in areas where it's heavily, represented by men is firstly, I think you need to understand who you are. That
Mm.
self awareness is really, really important because the self awareness tells you what you can lean towards in terms of your strengths
Yeah.
to actually then make your case, do your what you need to do. If you don't have that
Mm.
self awareness, you kind of flip flop, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
So I spent a lot of time through the course of my career where I was fortunate in that I had a lot of different opportunities to kind of build that self awareness, be it through psychometric testing or team type events that happen, etc., etc. So I had that right,
Mm.
but I think you need to have that self awareness, and then you need
Mm.
to back yourself,
Mm.
right? You
Yeah.
need to actually um, I'll give you another example of someone that I worked with, who uh, was wanting to start a family, did get pregnant, but it was also wanting at that time, had been applying for a more senior role.
Mm.
When she got pregnant, she came to me and she said, "Oh, no, I don't think I will go for that role because it's going to make the manager of that role, it's going to make his life really hard because I'm then going to go on parental leave.
Mm.
So I don't think I'll apply for it. I'll go have my baby, do what I need to do, and then when I come back, I'll reevaluate what I want to do." Right.
Mm.
And I had the conversation with her and I say, "Hey, firstly, congratulations, well done. How
Mm.
exciting." Right.
Mm.
Secondly, I don't know why that has an interdependence to the decision you need to make as to whether or not you apply for the role.
Mm.
And thirdly, why are you doing your boss's job? He gets paid
Yeah.
more than you.
Yeah.
Let him go and earn his keep. Let
Mm.
him work out how he's gonna balance it and do it and et cetera, et
Mm.
cetera, without you preempting it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So I think, hence why I say you've got to back yourself.
Yeah. I think that's so good that you had that conversation because I think most women in that situation probably would have thought the same.
Yeah.
Better not apply, because it's going to be a bit of an inconvenience.
Yeah.
And hopefully her manager appreciated the opportunity to be able to promote her and have that option.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think we, to all the leaders out there, be you men or women, and most
Mm,
I think women because you've got lived experience of this, be active advocates
mm,
for women who are actually facing into these sorts of challenges.
mm,
Um, don't just kind of go with the data
yeah.
because the data doesn't tell the full story,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And I think a lot of what I see for myself as I, have worked through the seniority of leadership, etc., is actually playing that advocacy role,
Mm,
posing the question to men in my team who are hiring a role and going, "Why wouldn't that work? Help me
yeah.
understand that. What? Why?
Mm,
You
mm,
may totally have a really valid reason, and I'm looking to
yeah.
better understand it."
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess looking at reasons why it could work, what are the
Yeah,
opportunities?
yeah,
What are the potential missed opportunities if we don't
correct,
explore it as
correct.
well? Mm, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if someone does want to get into that senior kind of leadership positions, what do you think they need to get spot on from early on?
So one of the things I talk about a lot with teams that I work with is particularly technology teams, right? Technology teams have, you know, our own identity to who we are. You will find, and I'm being very generalized here, you'll find that
Mm,
a lot of technologists tend to be very data driven, very
mm,
analytical. Um, Technically, this is correct. So this is
mhm,
how we need to do it,
mm,
Yeah.
right? And the conversations I have with a lot of my team is to say, just being technically correct is not enough.
mm,
If you can't tell the story, you have to be a storyteller.
Yeah.
If you can't tell the story, just carrying on about the data
mm,
is not going to convince that key stakeholder
no.
that you've got in front of you that this is the way to do it,
Yeah.
right? And therefore, then, this is the EQ part of it as well. You've got to understand what makes that individual tick.
Mm,
Why are they so entrenched in it has to be this way? They may have KPIs. They may have a fear of if I don't do it this way, then I won't be seen to be as successful as I am, and you've
mm,
got to navigate all of that,
yeah.
right? So leadership is not just about giving all the technically correct answers.
Mm,
It's and something else that I say to my teams is the more senior you get, it's not about your what, it's about your how.
yeah. Mm,
The how becomes more and more and more important. So if you can't get the how right, you will hit a ceiling,
mm,
right? And you'll be seen as a dependable, safe pair of hands, but you won't get that next leader role.
yeah. It's limited, isn't it?
Correct.
Mm. You'll be limited by the buy-in that you can get if you're not able to kind of walk in that other person's
Correct.
shoes, bring them on the journey,
Correct.
deliver what they're actually looking for, I suppose. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Cool.
What what would you say goes into your non-negotiable leadership qualities? I'd probably put empathy up there as a quite up in
Yeah.
the top three.
Yeah. Um, like a lot of us, I work from a value base as my first part of what I want to do, right? And my values come very heavily from equity and justice and, wanting to do the right thing by our people, right? And so um, my non negotiable is that um, you have to know and you have to be that advocate for the people who find it harder to actually advocate for themselves.
Mm,
Mhm.
What I mean by that is men and women, there'll be
mm,
individuals, and particularly in technology, who are very good at what they do. You, as a leader, need to work out what does career progression mean for that person and help them navigate that,
mm,
right?
yeah.
And so, um, you know, I see a huge difference between being a manager and a leader.
Mm,
So my
Yeah.
non-negotiable is don't just be the manager. The manager is administrative.
Yeah.
Are you coming to work on time? Have you delivered this piece of work, etc., etc.? The leader is how do you un bring untap that potential,
Mm.
tap that potential rather, and allow it to flourish. And all of a sudden, and I've seen this, I've been very privileged, and I've seen this in people that I've worked with, where all of a sudden they flourish,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Um, and I've got people from the different organizations I've worked in who still catch up for a coffee with me to have a chat about something that they're encountering. And I love that,
Yeah.
right?
That,
I think
yeah.
amazing. And
That,
they've gone
that's
on to
great
become
feedback for you.
CIOs and chief whatevers, and it's fabulous watching it.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. We always talk here actually about because obviously no one's perfect other, but it's like how do we play to their strengths?
Yeah,
Let's focus less on what they're doing wrong, and like
yeah,
how can we focus on what they're really good at, and kind of just ignore that. It's okay.
yeah,
It's not like a big blocker.
yeah,
And can we focus on their strengths?
yeah.
Mm.
The other thing I'd say, Jill, and I say this to my children as well as a lot of people that I work with, feedback is a gift.
Mm.
Don't get me wrong, feedback is a gift. But it is up to you whether what you need to know yourself, right? And when you get feedback, think about, is that what defines you?
Mm.
If it isn't, if in yourself you know that what you've been given as feedback isn't actually what defines you, then be
Mm.
clear about that and forge on to do
Mm.
what you think needs to be done,
Yeah.
right? I think a lot of people kind of get caught up in, oh, I got this feedback. And then they allow that feedback to become
Mm.
who they think
Yeah.
they need to become when it's not actually their area of strength. And, you know, as you get more and more senior in your career, no one I have worked with is 100%
No.
in amazing.
No.
No one.
Mm.
So when they start to give you feedback about your 10% or your
Mm.
5%, you kind of go, now you're really digging.
Be like, yeah, I'm okay with that. Thanks.
I'm okay
I'm
with that.
okay. I'll leave that one. Yeah.
Correct. Am I going to
Yeah.
let that define me? I don't think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree.
uh, Awesome. Well, Angela, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your insights. It's been absolutely fantastic having you. And to
Thank you.
everyone listening, yeah, please stay tuned in. And we look forward to welcoming you on our next episode also.
Thank you so much. I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation that we've had. And as I said at the start, Agle and Jill really appreciate having this opportunity to have this conversation. And if this helps someone else in their career, amazing.
Fantastic. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.